basically in a word, I would sum it up as my training was just kind of haphazard. I would just get up and go. What I felt like doing is what I was going to do. And I would get after it. If I felt like I wanted to do long stuff, I'd go long. If I felt like I wanted to do short and hard stuff, I'd go short and hard. But, at the time, there was for me, racing at that time in triathlon was sprint distance and Olympic distance. So I wasn't doing anything longer. So I was just able to really, stay sharp and keep my kind of top end run speed and fitness and the swimming and just throw in the bike. And, races are an hour to 2 hours. So it didn't require a ton of, I don't think I rode my bike over like 50 miles for years before, I started to say, all right, let's jump up and do a longer distance race. And then again, the technology has evolved, the understanding of the sport, the different methodologies and approaches to coaching and executing the sport have changed. So, but yeah, for me in the beginning, it was just get up and do it. Go have fun. What do you want to do today? Let's go ride. Let's go ride. You want to run? Let's run. Let's do it.
So in that age range, how would you assess like your injury rate if you were to put a percentage around it or something like that?
Constant.
It was constant.
When you look back, and I guess at this point in my career, when you look back, to me, it's about not having the regrets, not the coulda, shoulda, woulda, just trying to make sure that when I look back, when I close this chapter on my life, I feel like I checked all the boxes to the best of my ability. But I feel like when I do look back, and we talk about this a lot, identifying and assessing your limiters. So was I mentally tough enough to do more in my career? I think I was. Emotionally, was I committed enough? Was I strong enough to will myself to do more? I think that I was. But physically, my body would always betray me. I've had probably up to double-digit stress fractures in my low legs. I've had, labral tears. I've, as you know, crashed my bike. I've broken multiple bones, had surgeries, etc. It seems like almost without exception, every year I would have one, if not two injuries that would set me back for a good month or two. So I was kind of in this constant, the proverbial one step forward and two step back. But that was my thing. And I think back to my haphazard approach to training was a lot of it. It was just go hard often and not focus on recovery. We didn't even talk about recovery and getting adequate rest or nutrition or, foam rolling and massage, all that stuff. Again, you didn't even think about that, or at least I didn't back then. So yeah, injury was a big issue for me in those years as well.
Oh, so of course, the next question is now that you've gotten over 40,
yep.
What's changed?
Just being smarter, understanding that, and you know me, I have all of my analogies. If you've got your fitness bank account, so every time you're out training, you're depleting yourself. So you're taking a withdrawal from that fitness bank account and understanding that if all you do is take from your bank account, when it comes time for those big workouts or those races, you're going to get that insufficient funds notice when you go to toe the line because you've never done your due diligence and put all those withdrawals back with interest. So for me, it's much more about the balance and not just the training, but to make sure that all the support systems are in place to allow good training. And I'll steal from Matt Dixon, another great coach, and he's got, if you've read The Well-Built Triathlete, the 4 pillars of performance. So you've got your endurance training as one pillar supporting your roof. Then you've got your functional strength supporting one pillar. Then you've got your nutrition, and then you've got your recovery. And if those 4 pillars are out of alignment, your roof is never stable. And he will tell you, and I will say the same thing, 9 out of 10 athletes that come to work with Matt, and most of them that come to work with me, their pillars are out of alignment, and the majority of that is because they put 80% of their effort and focus onto just the endurance training, the swim, bike, and run. So all those other support pillars don't get their due diligence in terms of attention, so your roof is tilted. And then when the training ramps up, it gets even worse. Well, I can't get up in the morning to go to the gym anymore because now I need to go run. I don't have time to get on the foam roller or go to that massage because I've got to go swim. I don't have time to prepare the meals that I need, so I'm going to hit the drive-through. So it seems like, you're your own worst enemy in some respects. But for me, it's just been about that balance, just making sure that it's just not the training and understanding that it's just not the training that gets me where I need to be. It's a lot of times it's taking that 10-minute nap on the couch that's going to be more value added for me than going out and getting in that swim session. So just listening to my body, being smart.
So are you basically saying that your time in the major modalities, swim, bike, run, is less than when you were 25 to 29?
Yeah.
And you're spending more time in functional.
Yep.
That's an interesting question then that just came to my mind was, now that you have taken on that aspect, has the injury percentage, has that changed?
Yeah.
Tremendously?
Yep. I haven't had and again, all my stress fractures were tibia and fibula related, and I haven't had one, thankfully in several years now. So I think it has helped me, and I don't even want to say it. I'm not a superstitious person necessarily, but I'll jinx myself. But it's been almost a year, and it's generally running related. I think people that know the sport, they understand that 90% of the injuries that are occurring in endurance sports or multi-sport come on the run, just because it's so physically demanding on your body. Swimming, you're in a pretty buoyant environment, obviously, so other than some shoulder issues, you're really not going to hurt yourself swimming. On the bike, you can have some hip, some knee, some whatever issues, but I think you'll agree saying that most of the issues come with the run for people. Again, I'm just trying to be smarter. Not everything has to be fast and hard. Slowing down and allowing myself to enjoy. Yesterday, a little shakeout run with the cross-country team at a 9:30 to 10-minute pace. Back in my 20s and 30s, I never would have let that happen. I would say, why would you run so slow when it's so far below your ability, if you want to use that term? But now, those kind of support miles have allowed me, again, keep the easy so the hard can be hard, stay out of that gray. And I think that's been part of it too, is not just the drop in overall volume, but understanding there needs to be more a variety or range in what you're subjecting yourself to. There's a lot of value in just low intensity, easier work. It doesn't all have to be full throttle, until you're done.
Right.
So
any of my clients out there that know me, or if anybody that's read any of the posts, that I'm a big one on run form. Now, I've worked with Jon long enough that he is, do what your body's going to do the best you can do. Maybe you can find those weaknesses, is what he says.
Sure.
I've been one that actually is. It's the one thing that we kind of do separate at, but I'm a big run form person, and it's helped. And I think that what he's basically saying about, those were those tibia and his fractures that he had growing up and going into the sport, where he's actually come back to this now, which is, it's monumental. So as I said, most of my audience here is over 40. Okay. It's kind of like yourself. So if you were just starting today, and with the assumption that, you're not you're a normal adult.
Okay.
Someone's got a 9-to-5 job, and is not living the dream.
Yep.
What would you, how would you go about it?
Well, to me, and just like we started this with, it's always interesting to me to hear when I sit down with a potential new athlete that I want to work with, or just a casual conversation with another, multi-sport or endurance sport enthusiast. I like to hear the story of what drew you to it. How did you get involved with the sport? And I think some of that will determine how they get into the sport. So, like I look at kids. So in this day and age, in this country, children are not going to have exposure to triathlon unless they're around somebody that competes in it. You can sit and watch SportsCenter 365 days a year, and you're not going to see a snip about triathlon on there. So to me, how you get pulled into the sport in some respects will probably determine how you pursue the sport. So again, if you're around a lot of active triathletes that are really at a high level of engagement, you're probably going to get immersed in the sport pretty quickly. If it's more of a fringe or periphery thing, it's going to be casual. You just meet up with a friend to go for a swim or a bike or a run. But once you've kind of made the decision, I think, to get into the sport, I think, again, you don't have to be too strict with anything. I think the most important things are really, again, just to understand the demands of the sport, and that if you really want to see success, you have to make the commitment to apply yourself on a daily basis. And that doesn't mean that you have to have, 20 hours a week allocated to training. I think first and foremost, you do this as a source of release from stress. This should be an outlet to really help make you a better person in your daily life by unloading a lot of the stress and burden that you go through by being a husband, a wife, a father, a mother, an employee, an employer, whatever it is. So I think you need to keep it fun, and you need to make sure that the balance remains intact. You can't expect things of yourself that just aren't working with your current lifestyle. So if your friend is out for a 5-hour ride on Saturday, but you've got the wife and kids at home, obviously you don't want to abandon them for that ride and cause turmoil at home, because you're just adding you're just adding more stress to your life by being selfish for that 5 hours. But I think I'm getting off topic. What I would say, keep it balanced, keep it fun. So just enjoy the process, learn as much as you can. Whether that's through osmosis by being around people or reading literature online or in books. There's a lot of good information out there now about the sport, but keep it fun, keep it balanced, make sure it works within the construction of your life, the way it's set up. Set some goals for yourself, something that's, kind of short-term goals along the way, but then also longer-term goals. So if you get into the sport, I would, I guess, advise against being too quick to want to go long. I think that's kind of a prevalent thing in our sport right now. Ironman has done a great job of marketing their sport as almost an everyman sport, like anyone can do this. Not true. Can anyone do it? Yes, but they must do the required work to get themselves there. So keep it fun, keep it balanced. Don't be in a huge rush to go long. Go ahead, do some sprint distance stuff, then step up, do some Olympic, do some 70.3. But yeah, jumping in cold turkey to wanting to do your first full. Again, can you do it? For sure, but it's going to be a long, rough road. So just be patient. Enjoy it. There's no age cap on this sport, so as long as physically your body's able and mentally you're willing to do it, you can go do triathlon until you're, there's examples of people out there 85, 90 years old. So I don't care if you're starting at a later age. That doesn't mean you have to rush it. You can still take your time and make sure that you're staying healthy, not getting injured, having fun, not adding more stress to your home life or your work life, and just enjoy the process.
Most of the people that I know that start usually have one modality that they've done. Whether they've either swam or they biked or they ran, and then they decide to go. How would you suggest that someone just starting and just having one modality that they know, maybe they're not fit, but they're would you suggest that they start with another modality, learn it, then go to the next one? Or do you suggest that they do a little bit of all three to start and just build up all three at the same time?
I think that depends on your timetable. Again, a lot of people, they want to, let's just say, we'll take it to the extreme. I want to bucket list an Ironman. So I'm going to sign up for this. I got 1 year to get it done, and I used to be a runner. Where do you start? I think for most entry-level adult athletes, most of them aren't going to have a swim background. And a lot of times, if I have an athlete approach me that has zero swim background, I'll tell them, you don't really need a triathlon coach at this point. You need a swim coach. So let's get your swim up to some level of proficiency before you really even start to integrate swim, bike, and run. And I would say kind of the same thing with regards to bike and run, but swim, as you know, is for sure the most foreign for most people, the most technically demanding for most people, the most frustrating for most people. So I would, again, back to the kind of patience thing, I would spend some time, unless you have a swim background, spend some time trying to at least level the playing field for all three so that you feel comfortable and proficient. I don't see a need to ignore any of it. So I don't know that you need to go a swim-specific route for a while and then start to add in bike and then start to add in run. But I would definitely try and, you're always going to have a predisposition probably to be better at one and like one more than the other. It's just common nature. If you line up three things, you're going to like one the best and one the least. Mm-hmm. And that's triathlon. So you can say you love swim, bike, and run, but, gun to the head, you got to pick one. Everybody's got a favorite. Everybody's got a least favorite. But I don't think you really need to, focus exclusively on one and ignore the other two. I think you can start a balanced training schedule right off the bat. But for most people, the swim is where they're going to need to be focusing a lot of effort and energy when they start their journey. And not just the pool. Get your butts into open water, too.
Oh, he's so right about that. You keep talking a little bit about the mental aspect of it. What would you say the breakdown in the percentage of success in our sport is, physical versus mental?
It's a good question. I don't think there is a definitive answer, but it's something. So I just had at Tampa Prep, where I coach cross country and track, we just had our fall coaches meeting on Friday, and we have a new athletic director, and he touched exactly on this topic. He had a sports psychologist, a friend of his, that kind of came in on a little webcast, and we talked with him, and he had all the coaches stand up in the room. So this is coaches for all high school athletic sports. Okay. So you've got everything in there possibly under the sun. And he started the question, and again, he's a sports psychologist, so he's focused almost exclusively on the mental aspect of being an athlete. And he had everybody stand up, and then he said, if you think that your sport is 20% mental and 80% physical, go ahead and sit down. 30% mental, 70% physical. Go ahead and sit down. And I think there was some pressure amongst